Well, there it is, the new Marvel Comics catalog, chock full of product coming to a comic book store near you in November of 2020. In this video, we will go through this catalog together, and I will point out what things you should buy, what you should reserve right now because it is going to be that awesome, and which things you should avoid at all costs because they will absolutely suck. And a spoiler warning, this catalog is full of suck. So stick around, it's gonna be fun. Hey there, Bubby. Welcome to Shanghai. My name is Duke, and this is a pull list episode of the channel. The pull list is when we go through an upcoming catalog, the solicitations from some comic book company or other, and we decide what's going to be good and what's not. I will predict for you the best and worst, in this case, of Marvel Comics coming up in November of 2020. And it seems that the big whoop for November is going to be the Eternals, a new series. Karen Gillan, Assad Ribic, is that how you say it? It sounds like a frog, Ribic. I don't want to make fun of the guy's name. I just don't know if I'm saying it right. But, this makes sense that the Eternals would be a big push for Marvel considering the movie that's coming out. But I got some things to say about this book. We'll get to that. But, let's open it up, and we will get there as we get there. So, a couple of ads right here. The Thor is kind of intriguing because, the return of Donald Blake, which is kind of a long forgotten aspect of the Thor character. The problem is Donny Cates. He's the hot wonder child of the comic book industry right now, at least within the Marvel stable, and I'm just not that wild about him. I tried his Venom. I tried his Guardians of the Galaxy. I found both to be typical decompressed comic book storytelling, just like everything else on the market today. I read an issue in 7-8 minutes and not get anything like a complete story. Just this little chunk in the middle, and I feel cheated. I feel like I did not get my money's worth. So I'm not rushing right out to buy anything by Donny Cates. So this is an ad for the next thing, and it's Wolverine, Black, White, and Blood. So this is, maybe it's the grumpy old man in me, but from my point of view, if something is going to be just two colors, black and red, and the red is just going to be splotched here and there's really no color processing to speak of involved. Well, damn it, this book ought to cost $1 less than usual, not $1 more. So, I don't think I'm going to be running right out to buy this book when it comes out. I'm definitely not going to put it on my pull list. But I guess, it's a take on the Batman Black and White series over at DC, which came out in the early 90s, and was such a hit they did it about 10 years later. And not again, but it still is somewhat legendary for some reason. But that had big names on it. I don't really, Adam Kubert I know, but these other folks, Declan Chalavet, Joshua Cassara, those names don't really jump right out at me. There's nothing wrong with the artwork; it looks fine. And here is a 2-page spread. Although, what this says to me, the trepidation this fills me with is that the whole book is going to be this. There are people who say, well, comics are a visual medium. Well, no, comic books are a storytelling medium that uses pictures and words. That's the important part, and words. And again, I feel like this is going to be something that's going to be, some double-page spreads, some kind of decompressed stuff where not a lot actually happens on a page because the writer and the artist think they're working on a movie script and wanted to depict beat by beat every single thing in a scene. And so I feel like, again, this is going to be another thing where it's going to read in 7 or 8 minutes, and I'm going to feel like, in this case, not $4 but $5, I haven't got my money's worth. So Uh, you can tell already I'm a grumpy old man. And here's another thing that pisses me off about modern comics, okay? This X of Swords thing running through the X books. So we pick up at part 12. So this has already gone 11 chapters already. And this is going to go 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22 chapters. All right? Here's how I look at this. If your comic book story takes 22 books to tell, 22 full 20-page books to tell, then your story is probably either way too decompressed or way too convoluted. Either one, it's too damn much of something. Because you got to figure this is, 11 chapters this month. What is that? That's at $3.99 plus that last book was $4.99. That's going to come to almost $45. And that's just the second half. So $90. This story costs $90. This story is the equivalent to buying 5 full hardcover novels, going to, at the price around here and assuming they were open again, 10 or 12 full-length movies, it's just not worth the entertainment value. And then the other thing, right? And I haven't even got into what the possible storyline is yet. But the other thing here is that I've got a budget. I spend between $100 and $120 a month on comic books. Yeah, that seems a lot. If it wasn't for the spouse, I probably would spend even more. But that's my limit. That is, my loan officer at the First National Spouse has a credit limit imposed on me, and so I'm only spending at max $120 a month on comic books, about $25 or $30 a week, and that's it. So in order to fit in this storyline, right, which is 11 books, I have to find 11 things I'm already buying, 11 things on my pull list that I've got to cut in order to make room for this. And that's because, obviously I'm not buying all of the books, but if you were buying 1 or 2 of these and you had to buy all of the others, again, you've got to cut something else out of your budget in order to add this in, and for 1 month. So which books that you normally buy are you going to avoid for 1 month so you can read this supposed big storyline, which, changes everything, but probably won't end up changing a single thing. It's just going to be a mess. And, the other thing, the X-Men universe just makes my head hurt. and don't get me wrong, I'm a big fan of the Legion of Superheroes, so, I'm all in on a large cast of characters. I fully get that, every character, no matter how minor, is somebody's favorite. But again, the X-Men universe just makes my head hurt. There's just, I don't even know what to say. It's just there's no jumping on point with the X books, and a 22-part story is not where I'm going to jump in. All right, so now we're at the Eternals, and here's the first thing I notice about this damn thing. Look at this. I counted this up beforehand. 37 variant covers, plus the regular covers. So this thing has got 38 covers. It's a 32-page book for, $4. So that means that it's going to be probably about 20 pages of story. So this piece of shit has actually got more covers than it does pages. So, and what pisses me off about that is this just feels like a total cash grab. And matter of fact, that's the same thing with this damn Wolverine book. Is it feels like a cash grab. It feels disingenuous as hell, to be $1 more. It's just Marvel saying, hey, here's a way we can bleed our dwindling base of aging fanboys, some way we can suck a little extra money out of them. And that's exactly what this feels like, all of these friggin' covers, because that some of these covers, I don't know yet exactly how many a store is going to have to buy to get each cover, but some of these are going to be 1 in 50 variants, 1 in 100 variants, 1 in 1,000 variants. And so there are people who will buy those variants not even to read the damn book, but just to send it immediately to CGC, and they feel like they've got some investment, which is bullshit. Because I work for a company that buys and sells comic books online. We list hundreds of books every single day, and whenever we get one of these CGC'd alternate covers, it never does what the guide predicts it's going to do. Because let's be honest, even a 1 in 1,000 variant that's out there, however many of them, 100,000, however many of them there might be, they all exist. Every single one of them that was made exists in 9, 6, 9, 8, 10. And so there will never be as many people wanting that book at once as exist of that copy. If you put it on eBay, there aren't going to be enough people coming along who are going to want to compete over that book. So, the guide may say this alternate cover is worth 20, 30, $100. Don't you believe it, brother? Don't you believe it for a second? But the big thing that pisses me off is that the small shops are going to suffer from this, because these little junior investors, these get rich quick assholes who think they're going to buy a house with a comic book, a new comic book. What's going to happen is they won't go to their local store, because there are stores like the one that I shop at that are too small to get these variant covers. They're not going to buy, 1,000, 100, even 50 copies of this book in order to get a variant. So the person who wants that, they're not going to go to that store. They are going to go to the bigger store, or they're going to go online. More likely, they will go online to some giant retailer that can afford to buy however many hundreds or thousands of copies are needed to get a variant. And so if bullshit like this just hurts it just hurts the industry. It hurts the small stores, which is, again, the small stores, they're the base of the comic book marketplace. I mean, you can't exist on just a few giant size online retailers. You need these small shops in order to survive. So, I mean, in the comic book industry, there's like maybe less than 2,000 comic book stores nationwide. That's the best estimate right now. And so there are many, many places in the country where you can't find a comic book. They just don't exist. You're not near enough to a comic book store, and to do anything that endangers that runs the risk, that says to shops, you either don't matter to us, and you're going to end up going out of business because you can't compete, or we're going to sock you and make you buy things that you can't afford, make you do stupid shit, overextend yourself, trying to get that 1 in 1,000 variant. So you end up with, 500, even if it's 20, 20 books that end up in the dollar bin. That can kill a small comic book store. So I look at this, and the first thing I think is, holy fuck, is this Marvel or is this Dynamite? And what I see here is I see a company that doesn't give two shits about the actual comic book store owners. So this just pisses me off. Again, more covers than you have pages. But that's not why I'm not buying this book. Here's why I'm not buying this book. Now, Kieran Gillen's an okay writer. Asad Ribic, and again, I hope I'm saying his name right, and I apologize if I'm not. He's a good artist. But here we've got 4 preview pages, and look at this. And you're like, oh, that art looks pretty good. Oh, I might buy that. Yeah, that looks good. But look at those 4 pages. So this is probably going to have about 20 pages of story. So this is 4 pages. It's 1/5 of the book. What actually happens here plot-wise, right? Icarus gets out of bed, goes down the hall, passes somebody in the hall, and goes to the front door. That's it. That's 4 pages. All that actually happens, Icarus gets out of bed, goes down the hall, and goes to the front door. That's all that fucking happens. That's the fucking entire plot of these 4 pages. Can you freak? I mean, Stan Lee used to have a rule, right? His rule was that by page 3, somebody has to punch somebody else. Well, okay, maybe that's apocryphal. Maybe he never actually said that. It's just something attributed to him, or maybe something he invented later. But I mean, it's one of those things that if it wasn't true, it should be, because what that rule says is basically shit has to happen. This is a comic book. Stuff has to actually friggin' happen. And you may say, well, oh yes, Duke, but you don't have the words here. There are going to be words, and well, all right, well, it's not going to be any omniscient narrative, right? Because narration of any kind is deemed passé. What it's going to be is probably some internal dialogue. It's going to be Icarus thinking to himself. So, he may be telling you how he feels or what the state of the world is right now. But again, it's going to be tell, not show. Nothing is actually happening. Again, all that happens, 1/5 of this book, if you buy it and you want to buy it because you want to read the damn thing, not because you're trying to collect, and get rich off one of these alternate covers. But if you actually want to, read this thing and enjoy it as a reader, well, 1/5 of the book, here's what happens. Icarus gets out of bed, goes to the front door, and answers to the door. That's it. That's your story. Fuck that. This is basically, this again, I keep saying this, too many writers today, and forget the editors. Editors don't even edit. Editors are just glorified production managers whose job one is don't annoy the talent. But the writers, they think they're writing movie or television scripts, right? Because that's where they really want to be. Back way back in the golden age, people were slumming in comics because they really wanted to be in the newspapers and comic strips. Well, today they're slumming in comics because what they really want to do is work in movies and television. But at least back in the day when they worked in comics, they did comics. They didn't produce comic books as if they were comic strips, because they understood it's a different medium with different rules, different sensibilities, different needs. But here, they're writing this like they're writing a movie script, where they are showing you beat for beat for beat for beat for beat every single second of a scene. That's too decompressed. Again, nothing happens. Icarus gets out of bed, goes down the hall, answers the front door. That's it. That's all that happens. You don't need to buy this book. Trust me on that. So that's my rant, God damn it. So let's go into the rest of this catalog. And like I said, it's full of suck. And maybe I'm just a grumpy old man. It's true. I've been reading comic books probably longer than you've been alive. I started buying comic books on my own, albeit with an allowance money, way back in 1975 when they cost 25 cents. So I've seen a lot in the comic book marketplace, and I haven't seen much that sucks as much. Even at the height of the image boom in the 90s, when all comic books sucked. Holy crap ass. But even then, I don't think things were quite as bad as they are now, at least from a storytelling perspective. So let's move on. I think that's enough of that. So Warhammer 4000, number 2 of 5, whatever. If that's your thing, it's not mine, Some alternate covers that are supposedly inspired by a Native American theme, a Native American artist. Well, again, I don't get alternate covers. That's partly by choice, partly because the shop that I shop at doesn't do enough volume that it can order enough books to get the alternate covers anyway. But the other thing is, none of these covers really strike me as, oh my goodness, I've got to have that. I need to frame that, so whatever. And of course, going along with those, Marvel's Voices, Indigenous Voices, number 1. So they're going to pair up all of their Native American heroes. Okay. But again, my fear is that, well, one, the reason I'm not buying it, 40 pages, so you're probably going to have, maybe 25 pages of actual story for $5. And I know it's going to be too decompressed. I'm going to read it in about 10 minutes, and not a lot will actually happen. Uh, but the other thing, I kind of fear with the current Marvel that this is going to be some kind of woke nightmare. Like all of these characters are going to be, just absolutely. And granted, I mean, I started reading superhero comic books way in the day because it was wish fulfillment. These are characters I aspired to be, that I looked up to. So, the characters being heroic is not necessarily a bad thing. And Lord knows I hated the grim and gritty 90s, the anti-hero. But I just feel like this is basically, the adventures of Indian Mary Sue is what I fear that book is going to be. So, again, like I have said in my weekly haul videos that I do, even if I'm wrong, that is something the publishers, I think, can learn from, knowing the perception that exists out there. This shouldn't be Rotten Tomatoes, shut it down, they're alt-right trolls because they don't like us. That's a perception that maybe should be addressed. And again, I see nothing here that tells me this is going to be anything other than an SJW woke nightmare. Sorry about that. Iron Man, how many number ones has Iron Man had in the past few years? I don't even know where to begin with Iron Man anymore. Amazing Spider-Man, I haven't been buying this book. And I don't hear anything in YouTube reviews that really tells me that I should. What I hear out there is a lot of meh. But here's another thing. Again, talking about, stupid shit. Play stupid games, get stupid prizes. And Marvel is setting stupid rules to its stupid games and giving stupid prizes, which is stuff like this. What the hell is an LR? Just tell your damn story. And if it's appropriate for a different series or a mini series or something like that, then do that. But this inserting alternate numbering for a completely different story by a different creative team, this just fries my ass, frankly. If I was buying Spider-Man, I probably wouldn't get the LRs because, again, I've got to cut 2 books out of my pull list in order to add to. And again, what does the LR even mean? Does that stand for anything? Last Remains tie-in. Okay, great. So that tells me it's a tie-in to some, I don't even know what giant ongoing friggin' event. So again, that tells me fuck that. Any tie-in to something I'm not buying, forget it. Fries my ass. Spider-Woman, there's another character that's had 17 number ones in the last, couple of years. Spider-Woman and Captain Marvel, there's 2 reasons to be like, okay, I'm not totally against either one of these characters. I just would like you to do something with them that's vaguely interesting. Although, frankly, I've never been a Spider-Woman fan. I got Spider-Woman number 1, the first number 1, way back when. And even then, I was like, nah, she's a ripoff. She's just, she's just a copyright protection is all she is. That's the only reason she exists. There was a recent series where she was pregnant and had a kid, and that was kind of interesting, that perspective. But I don't know. No reason for me to buy that. John Walker, USA Agent, number 1 of 5 by Christopher Priest. I mean, that could be okay. My fear with this book, though, is, again, if you read the solicitation, American Zealot, John Walker, the former super patriot, has been stripped of his official USA agent status and is now operating as an independent government contractor, protecting government covert interests. His latest protection detail draws him into a conflict between a small town and the corporate giant trying to destroy it. So, my fear with this book is that it's going to be political, that it's going to be anti-capitalist, that it's going to be anti-conservative, that it's going to be, everybody who isn't a screaming progressive is an alt-right troll. That's what I fear that book is going to be. So, what I need from a solicitation is something that tells me that that's not going to be the case. But the state of the industry today, I don't dare take a chance. Now, I will probably take a look at this book when it comes out on the stands, and back to this Wolverine book. I'll take a look at that when it comes out on the stands, but I don't. I'm not going to pull it on my pull list because I'm too afraid of what it's going to be. Miles Morales. I don't have anything against Miles. I liked him in the Champions books. I have liked him in the movies and other media, but I don't know. I've just never been drawn to buy Miles Morales comic book. Captain America. The reason I'm not buying this is right here. Ta-Nehisi Coates. I tried Ta-Nehisi's Black Panther when it first came out, and I thought, hey, here is a proven writer, a New York Times bestseller. He could be pretty good, and he's got a definite perspective and point of view. But the first thing that I got out of his Black Panther series was that Ta-Nehisi Coates, however good a writer he might be, he doesn't know how to write a comic book, and nobody is willing to tell him. Nobody is going to teach him how to actually do this kind of thing. So I stuck with his Black Panther for like 4 issues, and then I was just like, ugh, sorry. Rise of Ultraman, I guess if you have any nostalgia for Ultraman, that's the thing for you, but not so much for me. All of this Black Widow stuff and Taskmaster stuff, again, it feels like cash grab. It feels like the only reason this is coming out is because there's a movie. And I did take a look at the first issue of Black Widow on the stands because it was something I wasn't willing to add to my pull list. But I took a look at it on the stands and thought, well, if it's good, I will. And it was. It was the typical decompressed nightmare. Nothing really happens. You got like 40 words on a page. It's just not worth $4. And so same thing with these. I'm not willing to spend $5 sight unseen or even $4 because Taskmaster 1 of 5, 5 issues. That's probably going to be about 2.5 issues worth of actual plot, the way comics are done these days. So those are both things I will probably look at when they come in, but I'm definitely not willing to put them on my pull list. Juggernaut number 3 of 5, meh. Savage Avengers, way too many Avengers books out these days. I can't keep straight who's an Avenger, who's not an Avenger, and what is the point of view, what is the point and purpose of any particular book. Marvel number 2 of 6, this one confuses the hell out of me because Marvel has had recently a series called Marvel, singular, and a series called Marvels, plural. And I can't really make heads nor tails out of what's the difference in these two series. Why do they exist? What is the point and purpose of either one? And who at Marvel thought it was a good idea to put out a series called Marvel alongside a series called Marvels? So I was going to pass on this book, but then when I read the solicitation, here's what grabbed me right in here. Where does it start? In a story by Dan Brereton, never heard of him, The Thing, Spider-Man, and Doctor Doom contend for the most coveted object on the planet in a tale by Eric Powell. So that's what draws me to that book, Eric Powell. Oh, by the way, here's another thing. Reading this solicitation, Black Widow isn't mentioned anywhere, so why is she on the cover in her classic original costume? I've got no idea. It doesn't make any sense to me at all. But anyway, Eric Powell. And if you haven't read his Goon comic book, The Goon, so much fun, so good. And so, yes, this book, even though I think I might have ordered number 1, but I don't know if it ever actually came out because of the COVID thing. I think it was originally solicited before COVID started, and I don't know if it has actually come out yet. But whether or not I've got 1, I will try number 2 because it appears to have a story that's complete in that issue by Eric Powell, which should be fun, should be good. So even at $5, I'm going to hold my nose and do it. just because I like Eric Powell that much. And if you are not buying The Goon, that's put out by his own company called Albatross Funny Books, you should try The Goon. All right, Werewolf by Night, that was kind of a meh thing. Hellstrom, Marvel Tales, I haven't really understood this whole thing with the Marvel Tales series, but $8, you can suck either one of my balls you want for $8. Take your pick. I'm not buying I'm not paying $8, especially for, I think this is mostly reprints. So, yeah, it's mentioning older books here. So, forget it. Especially not when, Marvel Fanfare number 59, you can pull that out of a dollar bin or a quarter bin. Why am I going to pay $8 to get that book? Shang-Chi. I'd rather the book was called Master of Kung Fu. I guess we can't do that. Maybe that's racist. I don't know. I would really like to get a Shang-Chi book. I did enjoy Master of Kung Fu way back in the day. But I did not buy into this just because, again, I just felt like it was going to be a hero who's not necessarily a hero, but who's utter perfection because he's a minority. And I hate to say that because I know people are going to listen to this video and think, well, this guy's just another alt-right troll. I bet he's Comicsgate. Well, no, I'm not Comicsgate. I'm not paying $25. I don't want to pay $8 for a book. I'm sure as hell not going to pay $25. So I've never bought a Comicsgate book. I don't see myself doing that anytime soon. I would give up new comic books entirely and just buy back issues if it came to that. I'm not paying $25 for a single comic book, even if it comes with cards and stickers and all that kind of stuff, if it meets its stretch goal, because all that crap is just crap to me. It's just clutter. So anyways, Shang-Chi, yeah, I would like to like a Shang-Chi book, but there was nothing about this that looked like it would appeal to me. And again, the art is kind of manga, which I've never been a manga fan. I do like the facsimile reprints, and I do buy those. It's kind of funny. I buy more of the reprinted Marvel books than I do new Marvel books, but these I already have both of those books, not the originals, but I have them both in some form of reprint or another. Avengers 38, Jason Aaron. I like Jason Aaron, but again, I just could not follow him to the Avengers because I can't keep the Avengers straight. They're just a step down from the X-Men. They're just too overexposed that I just can't get into it. Avengers Marvel Snapshots #1. This Marvel Snapshot series is it's another thing that pisses me off. It's like, tell me a story. I get so frustrated with books that want to tell me what the character's history is. That you've got to straighten out the continuity and tell me what stories never happened, even though I read them, so I know they happened, and what did happen, what counts now in continuity. Just tell me a story with this character. Don't waste my time telling me what the character's backstory is. So that stuff just frustrates me. Champions, they've been like, what, 7? I mean, that's hyperbole, but I'm only exaggerating by just a little bit. It's been 6 or 7 or 8 or 10 Champion series lately. They keep rebooting it at a #1. They keep canceling it and starting over with the same characters. I bought the first couple of runs, but then it just kind of started to be like, this isn't going to go anywhere before it's canceled, and started and restarted. So this iteration of the team, I was just like, you know what, you've worn me out, Marvel. You totally wore me down to the nub, and you don't need to keep starting over with the #1, because when I was a kid, again, I was coming in at Fantastic Four 170 something, Avengers 155, Spider-Man, I don't know, 150, 160 something. Hundreds of issues had existed previously, but I was able to jump on and get a full, complete story, if not in one issue, then within 2 or 3, or if it was continued, there was still at least in every issue some aspect that was introduced, explored, and resolved within that issue. And so, it doesn't have, what a high issue number told me is this property's been around for a while and it's popular. It has staying power. What I get from a new number one, going back to Spider-Woman, what I get from a new number one, every, wherever the hell that book was, every year or two, is that you don't know what the hell to do with this character. Nobody actually wants to read it, so you've got to keep going back to a number one to goose your sales. And so, again, they just wore me out with Champions. Arrow, Swordmaster, that's stuff that, again, if you're into manga, that's there for you. That's not my thing. So, I'm not really going to talk it down, but, it's not for me. It's not made for me, as the saying goes. Maestro, I don't even know what that's all about. Something about Hulk and Hercules is gay now. Whatever. Power Pack, I loved the Power Pack book back in the day, but they've done weird things with Power Pack in that they've aged up the characters. She still seems like a kid, but the two older Power siblings are in their 20s now, and she's a lesbian, which again, there's nothing wrong with that, except that it just frustrates me that every book, every team has to have a gay character. I remember when the whole gay marriage thing was being fought over, and they would say, oh, you probably know a gay person because as much as 10% of the population is gay. Okay, great. And yeah, I know lots of gay people, but if only 10% of the population is gay, then not every team of 4 people should have a gay person. So again, it feels like it's not the character, it's just inserted to promote that identity. There's no reason for her to be gay other than somebody said, oh, we've got to have a gay character. But the biggest thing, again, that frustrates me with the Power Pack is aging these characters up. So you've got, Spider-Man and Reed Richards and Iron Man and Captain America. They're the same age they've been forever in the Marvel Universe, but the kids age up. Eventually, the kids will be the same age as Reed Richards. He'll have a little gray around his temple there. I would prefer if this book was back to the original, back to the kids as kids. I would like it a lot more if it was still by Louise Simonson and whatnot. But so I don't know. I don't dare try that book, even though I have a lot of nostalgia, a lot of fond feelings for the Power Pack. I like the little power on button in the logo there. That's clever. So there we go. What am I, 30 minutes in? I said a nice thing. I gave something a compliment. Immortal Hulk. This book by Al Ewing has got a lot of positive praise in the fan press and online. So I tried it. I tried a couple issues off the shelf, and I just couldn't get into it. There was no jumping on point. It always seemed to be in the middle of a storyline, and so it was kind of like, and pick your favorite genre show. Game of Thrones, Battlestar, I don't know, whatever your favorite show is. Sopranos. I'm going back a ways there, but whatever it is, imagine if you'd never seen an episode before and you've come into a season 2 episode, and you come in, somebody's watching it, and you walk into the room just after the second commercial break. And you sit there and you watch the 10 minutes until the third commercial break. Are you going to have any idea or interest what's going on in that series? Maybe. You might, but that's exactly, well, apart from that's what most comic books feel like. That's what this series felt like. And I couldn't get into it. And comics sell so little these days that I really couldn't go back and get. It's not like you can go back and watch the reruns of The Sopranos or whatever. You couldn't, if a book was sold out, you almost can't get it. Circulations are so low. It's easier to find a 1960s comic book, any given issue, than it is a modern book, a back issue. So again, I wanted to like it. I tried it because everybody was recommending it, but there didn't seem any place for me to get into it. Thor, we've already talked about Thor. And so this is kind of intriguing. This whole, what are they going to do with the Don Blake persona? But again, Donny Cates, I feel like that's going to read in about 10 minutes. That I keep beating this drum, but it's why comic books are not a good entertainment value. They don't provide a good, worthwhile entertainment experience. You spend $4 on a comic book. It takes you about 10 minutes to read. For your money is 40-50 cents a minute. You might as well engage in phone sex. You get a better value for dollar at phone sex than you do in a comic book these days. All right, so here's Symbiote Spider-Man, King in Black, number 1 of 5. And you're like, well, Peter David, okay, he seems to have been somebody who's kept his politics a little bit off of social media. So whatever he feels, I'm not immediately poisoned. The well isn't poisoned for me with Peter David the way it is with some others. Greg Land, I know there'll be some good art because it will be based on other people's good art. But it looks like it's the beginning of an event, and I am all done with events. I have got no use for events anymore. I have total and complete event fatigue. Venom, I've never caught on with because I'm not into the grim and gritty characters. So King in Black, True Believers. I normally, at $1 each, I normally buy the True Believers books. My store really only buys the ones I order. Interestingly enough, they don't buy any of these for the shelves. I mean, I would, if it were me, I would load up on these, because if some kid comes in, wants to get into comic books, give him something for $1 where he's going to get a full story within that issue. He, or she will probably end up coming back. You give a kid any modern comic book, odds are they're not going to come back because they're going to read it. It'll take them, 5 minutes, 10 minutes to read. They won't have any idea what's going on, and they won't come back. But I believe everything here, if I don't have the original issue, or in the case of Venom, don't want it, I probably have it in a reprint form. I think the exception probably is this one. And I had that one as a kid, but we had a trailer fire when I was in junior high school, lost all my books. And that was one I've completed, recompleted pretty much all of that Spider-Man Bronze Copper Age run, except for that issue. I was never willing to pay the price for that one. And I might go ahead and pony up the $1 for that. But I mean, the rest of them, I either have the original, have it in some reprint form, have the original, don't want it. I'll have to check and see if I have that first Doc Samson appearance. So there you go. Strange Academy. Now, finally, we have got to a book that I am buying and enjoy. So I think I can recommend to you Strange Academy by Scotty Young and Humberto Ramos. Now, Humberto is somebody whose politics he wears on his sleeve on social media and has been an absolute dick. Humberto Ramos is the guy who said that he would not do conventions in any state that voted for Donald Trump. Right? So he feels it's appropriate to punish fans in an entire state because people who don't know him and have never even heard of him, haven't got clue one he even exists, voted for the wrong president. And what about a state like mine, that splits its electoral vote? One part of Maine, one electoral vote went to Trump, the other 3 went to Clinton. But so what? He will do a convention in Portland, Maine, but not Bangor, Maine, maybe. So my thought on Humberto Ramos is pretty much fuck you, Humberto Ramos. Even though I didn't vote for Trump myself. Yeah, I didn't vote for Clinton either. I have voted Libertarian every year since 1992, which may be longer than you've been alive. Uh, so you can't blame me for anything. Republican, Democrat, I got no part of it. Now, I'm not on that crazy train. But uh, I give Humberto Ramos a pass because I do enjoy his work. So I try to take the Ditko approach and separate the art from the artist. Not because I feel Ditko was crazy. I'm an aspiring objectivist myself, but because I mean that was Ditko's philosophy. It's about the art, not the artist. So I have enjoyed this book. I'm working on a review for number 2 that I actually take down a little bit, but I do it with love. But I can, if you like Harry Potter, if you like something, and Scotty's done a pretty good job so far of each issue having, of course, I've only seen 2 so far, but each issue having, again, even though the whole thing is continued, there's an aspect that is introduced, explored, and resolved within that issue, some aspect of the ongoing storyline. So and they read in about 15 minutes, which is comparatively, a decent value these days. But again, you come out of the book feeling like you've read something at least. So Strange Academy, I would recommend that to you, especially if you're, like I said, into anything like Harry Potter, because this is all about a school for young magicians, or if you want something that's not too overladen with decades of continuity. So there you go. Captain Marvel, fucking Brie Larson. Fucking Brie Larson. I can't even look at this character and not think Brie Larson and not think it's not made for me. So talk about poisoning the well. And I've got nothing against Kelly Thompson. I've never really loved anything she's done, but, it's not like I wanted to get hit by a bus or anything. But I just, I don't know. And here we talk about creators on social media and the damage that does. Mark Waid was my favorite writer of all time at one point. I loved and worshipped the ground Mark Waid walked on. But he's been such a fucking dick that I'm not buying any book Mark Waid does until I start hearing some apologies. He needs to man up like Tom King and start apologizing to some people. And Dan Slott, not so much for his politics, but just because he's a dick to fans online. If anybody says anything other than glowing praise to him online, he responds like a snotty little pubescent, petulant punk. I've seen exchanges with him online that I'd like to just walk up and slap him in the face if I knew what he looked like. So I'm not buying anything by Dan Slott because he's just a dick online. A Magnificent Ms. Marvel, I should say. By the way, Ms. is not an abbreviation, so it should not have the period. I know Ms. Magazine had the period there. It's wrong. It's not an abbreviation. Ms. is just MS. No period, no dot. I enjoyed this character back when G. Willow Wilson was doing it. I enjoyed the insight into the Muslim character, Muslim family. I thought she did that well, and the character reminded me very much of my Spider-Man, my classic Spider-Man. Very, very heroic, messing up but meaning well, doing their best, trying to be a hero. But when the new series started without G. Willow Wilson, I tried it for a couple issues, and I was like, and ended up dropping it from my pull list. Guardians of the Galaxy number 8. I would like to like a Rocket series. Al Ewing again is as good as anyone else these days. Granted, that's a low bar, but I think it's because of the Donny Cates series that I tried and didn't like because nothing happened. That I just didn't buy that one when it was solicited. Deadpool, love him or hate him. I've never really got the point of Deadpool, and Either a writer does Deadpool really, really well or really, really bad. So there you go. Falcon and the Winter Soldier, that doesn't feel like there's any reason for that book other than that there's an upcoming Disney Plus show that allegedly will be out someday. And so I just did not feel particularly driven, even though the Falcon is a favorite character of mine. I'm from the days when the book was not Captain America; it was Captain America and the Falcon, and I have a soft spot for the Falcon because I'm old enough that I got Mego action figures when they were new. Lost them all in that house fire I mentioned, and I would love to get a Mego Falcon because the Falcon was my first Mego action figure. I loved and cherished that thing, and I must have had 25 of them, when we lost them all, and never for years was able to find any. And then once the internet became a thing, they were too expensive for me. But I've got a soft spot, a nostalgic spot for the Falcon. But even so, it just didn't feel like there was a reason for that series other than, oh, there's a TV show, let's do a series. Let's throw something together. This book I love, though. Daredevil number 24. Chip Zdarsky, I think, is the reason I like that. There have been some good artists on that series as well. But this is, I think... I don't know if you can hear that. That's my ringtone, the Electric Company theme. So again, a giveaway at my age. I'm definite Gen X. So let's pause a moment and listen to the Electric Company theme. All right. So good we get to hear it twice. All right. So anyway, Daredevil 24, Chip Zdarsky. I think, for my money, Daredevil is the best book Marvel is doing right now. I recommend Daredevil to you. Dr. Doom, that didn't get good reviews when it came out, and so I just didn't even bother trying. Conan, when Jason Aaron was doing it, I bought into it and I liked it. But I dropped it after the end of his run, largely because it was 12 issues, which, well, good, well, decent. It was another case of 12 issues that had enough plot for maybe 5. And so I was just like, I'm not so into Conan that I was going to stay with it. Star Wars, well, there it is. If you're into Star Wars, I've never been big on things like Star Wars, Star Trek, Doctor Who, and the comics. In part because I always feel like whatever they do in the comic books is going to be invalidated whenever the next movie comes out. Or, in the case of Star Wars, the next piece of the franchise. So, Star Wars comics always feel to me like nothing really matters. So, and that's it. That's all for the comics. Then we come into some statues, and I can't afford that, and I don't know who can afford even 60, but certainly not $200 for a statue. Whoever just called left a message. If you hear the ding. Marvel Action. Are these the ID? Yeah, these are the IDW books, which are apparently now also solicited in the Marvel catalog. I don't know if they used to do that or if that's new. I haven't noticed it before. And I don't know. Do you want to go over the collections? I don't really. The Marvel, and this is true of DC as well, there doesn't seem to be any rhyme, nor reason, nor cohesive branding philosophy to any of the collections that they do. And if I'm being honest, at $100, I'm not paying $100, especially when, what issues does this reprint? Captain America 193 to 214. You can get all of those issues for a couple bucks, in 7.0, 7.5 or above. They're readily available online or in a dollar box near you. I'm not going to pay $100 when I can get the original issues cheaper. Of course, I already have most of those issues. So there's that. Captain America comics I would be interested in, but holy fucking turkey shitballs, not for $100. So I don't know. I would almost rather, I'm not into digital comics, but I would almost rather have like access to a digital archive, a good one that had everything, and pay well, look at this. Dazzler Masterworks. Why in fuck Christ would you pay $75? And this is volume 2, so it's Dazzler 14 through 25, when those books are all dollar bin books. You can get those in 9.4 near mint condition for $1 a piece. So I don't know why anybody would pay $75 for that. So what the hell else do I want to pick apart here? And this doesn't make any sense to me. You know, $150 to get a printed edition of the official Marvel handbook that gives you the official continuity up to 86. 1986. You know, we've changed everything since then, but in case you wanted to know what the official continuity was back then, and here's another thing, you could get those books for $1 a piece. Why would you pay $125? Who does that? You know, but you know, again, because new issues are new back issues are hard to find. I would recommend to you this this Daredevil by Chip Zdarsky, this collection of the recent series. And what issues does this collect? Oh, number 1 through 10. So for $34.99, 10 issues. That's actually cheaper than the original issues. So there you go. The people who don't get the floppies and wait for the trade, well, there you go. Buy that. Some iteration of Spider-Woman. Who even knows which series that one was? Anything else here? But again, a lot of this is like, I don't know why it exists, but doesn't seem to be any branding philosophy to these books. Yeah, you've still got some Marvel Masterworks stuff, but so I'm kind of surprised DC Archives went away, but but the Marvel Masterworks series still exists. So I guess there's that kind of branding. Is this Epic Edition? Is this like the old Essentials? I like the Essentials books. You know, they were black and white, but you could get a shit ton of the original stories for not a lot of money. So if you were interested in reading the damn things, those were good. And DC's showcase books were the same thing. So I don't know, how much are these? It's $40, and it collects Incredible Hulk 314 to 330, Annual 14 and 15, and Marvel Fanfare 29. So that's a pretty good package for $40. And is it in color or black and white? It's 512 pages. Bum, bum, bum. It doesn't tell me. Oh, no. It does not tell me if this book is in color or black and white. You think it would. You think that would be a pretty important thing to know in the catalog, you know, or whether or not you're going to buy it. Because, I mean, there are some people who won't buy a book if it's black and white, you know, a reprint. So it seems to me like that would be an important thing to know. So there you go. That's the end of that. So I hope I haven't alienated anybody watching this too awful much. I know there are a lot of you who are going to watch this, and based on the comments I made, you're going to be like, oh, he's an alt-right troll. I need to block him on social media right now. Well, the accounts are at Durigo Duke, Dirigo Duke, or at Shanghala. So those are the Twitters. I'm Durigo Duke. I'm Durigo Duke on Parler, although I don't actually use that account much, and on Instagram. So if you want to block me, that's where I am. Otherwise, like, share, subscribe if you enjoyed this video. Give me a thumbs down if you hated it. It's a new channel, so kind of any interaction will help hip the YouTube algorithm to my existence. And of course, you know, leave some comments below, because that's the whole reason I do these videos, is to to facilitate some engagement, some conversation between, myself and you, my fellow comic book fans, whatever end of the political spectrum you fall on, I don't care. And so have at it. Leave those comments. Let me know what you think, good or bad. Until next time, goodbye, good luck, and please be good to each other.